Welcome to the Public Housing Repositioning Post-Closing How-To video series. The goal of this video series is to help explain and discuss common issues that occur post-closing after repositioning public housing assets to voucher assistance. The goal of the video series is to identify and explain where RAD requirements differ from those of the traditional PBV program. This video series outlines PHA post-conversion and ongoing reporting requirements in HUD systems. This video will help PHAs understand post-reporting requirements after conversion from asset management to the Housing Choice Voucher (HCV) program. While some videos in this series highlight program features that are applicable to both RAD PBVs and non-RAD PBVs, this video describes requirements only applicable to RAD PBVs. This video will address four main questions. What HUD systems are PHAs required to use to report RAD PBV data? What are the required fields to be completed? When should PHAs begin reporting RAD PBV data into HUD systems? How often are PHAs required to report data on PBV units? What HUD systems are PHAs required to use to report RAD PBV data? After a RAD closing, PHAs are responsible for reporting requirements in two systems: the Inventory Management System, or IMS/PIH Information Center, known as PIC for short, and the Voucher Management System, known as VMS. IMS, or PIC, is a central system to monitor and manage project-based voucher units. VMS is used as a central system to monitor and manage PHA use of vouchers and associated expenses. Why is reporting important? Reporting is required after a RAD closing and as long as the family occupies the unit, because the data is used to determine annual funding renewal amounts and any eligible fees for PHAs. Incorrect reporting not only results in inaccurate information about the program, but also can result in the participant paying the wrong amount. HUD may reduce or offset any administrative fee to the PHA in the amount determined by HUD if the PHA fails to perform administrative responsibilities correctly or adequately under the program. For example, not submitting Form HUD 50058 or a VMS non-submission could be grounds for offsetting admin fees. What are the required fields to be completed? We will start with a quick overview of the fields that need to be completed in both systems. Later in the video, we will discuss the requirements in greater detail. In PIC, the required fields are lines 11B through 11AN in Section 11 and line 2N in Section 2. In VMS, there are three required areas. If applicable, fill out Rental Assistance Component 1 UML and HAP. And, if applicable, fill out Rental Assistance Component 2 UML and HAP. The number of PBVs under HAP and leased, and the number of PBVs under HAP and not leased. Remember, if the sum of the leased and not leased PBV field is less than the total UMLs reported in the RAD 1 and RAD 2 fields in VMS, your PHA will not receive all administrative fees that they are due, since PBV fields are used for the admin fee calculation. How often are PHAs required to report data on PBV units? Now that we covered when you need to start reporting, we take a look at how often you need to report on your PBV units. In PIC, Form HUD 50058 must be submitted no later than 60 calendar days from the effective date of any action recorded on line 2B. In VMS, PHAs are required to submit leasing and cost data in VMS on a monthly basis. Each month's data is submitted during the subsequent month. VMS is available for regular submissions from the 4th through the 22nd of each month. Reporting PBV in PIC. We will first start with the reporting requirements in the PIC system. To ensure that families occupying PBV units are recorded properly in PIC, PHAs must complete Section 11, lines 11B through 11AN as applicable of the Form HUD 50058. The remaining sections of the HUD 50058 form must be completed the same as for regular Housing Choice Voucher (HCV) participants, with the following exceptions: Action Codes 10, Issuance of a Voucher, and 11, Expiration of Voucher. Action Codes 10 and 11 do not apply to the PBV program. PHAs do not need to enter Action Code 10 or 11 on the Form HUD 50058 for participants that will occupy PBV units. Payment Standards. Payment standards do not apply to the PBV program. Since portability does not apply to the PBV program, Action Codes 4, Portability Move-In, and 5, Portability Move-Out, must not be used on Line 2A. Also, lines 11D through 11F must be left blank. PHAs should enter RAD PH in line 2N for PIC, in addition to Section 11. Please note, because the PBV program is part of the HCV program, line 1C must be coded VO. Remember, the Form HUD 50058 captures information on families participating in the PBV programs. PHAs must submit a form electronically to IMS, PIC, for each family anytime there is admission, moves, re-examinations, terminations. For any new admissions, PHAs will use the following. PBV Program Code. For type of action A, 1. New admission, action must be submitted to PIC to reflect admission to the PBV program. The family's date of admission on the voucher program must be the same as the effective date of the RAD PBV HAP contract. For inspections, for PBV units, a PHA does not report the last date the unit passed inspection on 5H. Also, the PHA does not report the date of the last annual biennial inspection on line 5I. Reporting PBV in VMS. Next, we will look at the reporting requirements in the VMS system. PHAs are required to report PBV units that are under HAP contract in the following manner. Number of PBVs under AHAP and not under HAP. These are the total number of PBVs under AHAP only. These units are not reported in any other field. Number of PBVs under HAP and leased. These are the total number of PBVs under HAP contract and leased. These units and associated expenses are also reported in the field that best describes the type of voucher being used: tenant protection, AOV, etc. Number of PBVs under HAP and not leased. These are the total number of PBVs that are under a HAP contract and are not leased and are not receiving vacancy payments. These vouchers are not reported in any other field, but are eligible for administrative fees. This field should include RAD 1 and RAD 2 units that are under a HAP contract but are not leased, and RAD 1 units that are receiving rehab assistance payments, RAP. Number of PBVs under HAP and not leased with vacancy payment and associated vacancy HAP expense. These are the total number of PBVs that are under a HAP contract and are not leased but are receiving vacancy payments. These vouchers are not reported in any other field, but are eligible for administrative fees. RAD vouchers receiving vacancy payments should also be reported in this field. HAP expenses. Number of PBVs under HAP and not leased with vacancy payment and associated vacancy HAP expense. These are total HAP expenses associated with PBVs under HAP contract and not leased with vacancy payments. These expenses are also reported in the AOV HAP expense field. Vacancy payments for RAD vouchers should also be reported in the appropriate RAD HAP expense field. Note: RAD rehab assistance payments should not be reported in this field, but should be reported in the RAD 1 HAP expense field. Enter R1 UML in the first box and R2 UML in the second box denoted below. Enter HAP on the same row directly to the left. All RAD 1 and 2 have their own set of leasing and expense fields. Keep in mind that R1 does not report anything in the first year of conversion unless it is a CAT. What is CAT? Next, we take a look at another definition. CAT is also known as Converted Awaiting Transfer, CAT. In most conversions, a HAP contract is executed immediately after units are removed from the public housing ACC. In a limited number of cases, public housing units need to be demolished before the PHA is ready to enter into a HAP contract. In these cases, RAD uses a CAT agreement to reserve the legal authority to enter into the HAP contract at a later date. In this case, the entrance of the HAP contract determines the effective date of funding. This date can be the first of any month of the year, getting a full 12 months of funding. The units are reported in VMS immediately after the conversion. If the effective date was October 1, 2021, the units would be reported in VMS in October 2021. When should PHAs begin reporting RAD PBV data into HUD systems? We reviewed the basics of what is required for each system, PIC and VMS. It is important to understand when you need to start reporting RAD PBV data. For PIC, PHAs need to start reporting RAD PBV data into PIC immediately after the RAD conversion. For VMS, PHAs need to start reporting RAD PBV data from a non-CAT RAD1 conversion into VMS on January 1st after the first full year of funding. The total number of vouchers leased for all RAD Component 1 awards reporting begins January 1 of the first full calendar year of voucher funding. RAD 1 CAT and RAD 2 begin reporting in VMS based on the effective date of the award, which should be noted on the ACC sent by the FMC, Financial Analyst, or FA for short. Here is an example of timing for VMS reporting on a non-CAT RAD 1 award. For example, on June 1, 2020, the units convert to RAD 1. The units are put under ACC with $1. The PHA receives a letter from the FMC, which includes the amended ACC, and is instructed to not begin reporting the units and associated expenses in the VMS until January 1, 2021. So, 6 months later, on January 1, 2021, the PHA should begin reporting all RAD 1 leasing and associated HAP expenses in the RAD 1 fields for the award that was received in calendar year 2020. The units should also be reported in the appropriate PBV fields. What are the required fields to be completed? And for a quick recap, these are the fields that need to be completed in each system.